And I think that I agree with you that I think the publishers who hold their content too close and who don't participate in the broader community and who are actually, in a sense, not interested in what the scientists are doing with the product, then I think I have a real problem. I agree with Larry. I just want to add that the access thing is important because there has to be a continuing access because the job is how to do the job is not solved. I mean, what you pointed out is there's actual, and I believe there's still actual problems in figuring out how we mark things up, how we do the analysis. And so any kind of content markup that starts now, you want to engineer your system so that it can keep going on for the next 20 years, right? So I'm involved in a project with a group that wants to do markup, and they're completely focused on, how do I drag the mouse and how to turn it. I'm completely focused on, okay, and how do you do it again? How do you run the pipeline again without losing the choices people have made because they're valuable? So you need to be thinking about access as this ongoing thing. Is this, no matter, as I said, no matter what you do right now, it's going to be an advent. Mary's that in the corner. I think she should say something.
Okay. So you're talking about whether you should have pre or post markup, but many of us sitting here are already doing the post-publication markup. It is part of our daily work because of the ontology annotations we make to the information in your papers. We have marked them up in our databases. People come to us via the ontologies to get to your papers. We're already doing the work for you. Maybe not the day it's published. The fact of the matter is you are not even taking advantage of that. That data is out there. It's FTP files, PubMed ID, all the ontology annotations. We have made the ontologies. We have made the annotations. It's free. You could get a summer student, undergraduate student, to go out there, write a script, and take all the work we've done and mark up your paper. I don't want to hear about barriers. We've done it for you.
Yeah, I think it's a very important point about two-way linking. So the point is that it's maybe shaken. Yeah, I'm working on some models. So they're curating articles, the publishers, in fact, at Nature we've had, I'm very familiar with this issue, and we do want to publish it in the other customers are aware that, you've got people marking up your text, you want to be able to direct people to their sites and people back, and to get the links between the external databases and the publishing purposes together is an important point. And it is frustrating that it's not done yet, but I think it's reflective of just how difficult it is to change a lot of systems quickly. But the point is well taken. Okay. Marianne.
So we've been considering in the neuroinformatics field of the Society for Neuroscience this question for a while about what it is that we can do with publications. And I've been at a fair number of conferences over the course of the last year, and everybody agrees that annotation of papers is, in fact, a hard problem, and that it's also a living problem, right? Because you can annotate a certain amount when you submit the paper, and that's probably going to be very simple things, because that's all an author can really do. But if you look at, for example, at the way that authors write their papers right now, I actually think it's a two-way street. Authors are not writing their papers for information systems either. And if you do even something very simple, like look at one that I use all the time, is I was looking just to see how many different ways people could state that they use a mouse monoclonal antibody against alpha-synuclein. And it was enormous. And it was enormous, and it was methods that were referenced in previous papers that had to go back to previous papers, to go back to previous papers, to go back to previous papers. And so we make the problem of machines interacting with our publications very, very difficult, because also I think that we've been trained to write for paper and for giving our papers to other people, not for giving them to machines. And so one of the things in the Society for Neuroscience Informatics Committee meeting we suggested in concert with the Journal of Neuroscience is, are there style guides? Can we actually update our style guides to recognize that we're now in because we have ways of teaching students how to do this. We teach students how to write scientific papers in our laboratories. We can teach them that. But I also think that this idea of the living annotation is incredibly important, and that the idea that you can annotate a certain number of entities when you put it in, but there's going to be a lot of things, for example, that ontologies don't exist for. So what happens when those ontologies come in place? The data's going to have to be re-annotated. Discourse. You can prove everything and relate what you do to what's already known and published, but what happens when the next thing comes out? You know, you're going to want to update what you've done. There's things that are in there. So I think that you need to sort of think about it in a very sort of broad, dynamic fashion.
Okay, so let me throw this back to Tom, yeah, to answer that difference about living annotation.
Language is a wonderful tool for humans to communicate with other humans, and I think the prospect of constraining how authors use language is doomed to failure. But I'd like people to comment on another way of achieving your goal, which is to get the machine-readable statements in addition to the language, and that is to use something akin to a structured digital abstract that contains the salient points. I mentioned that when I spoke. No one else has mentioned that. I would like to hear from the panel and the floor what people think about that. They may have seen the Fev's experiment with structured digital abstract, very limited to protein-protein interaction papers. Do we take that more generally?
But just to follow up, I don't think constraining language is even necessary. I think it's more, we're already used to style guides that say you should use a standard abbreviation and not a non-standard abbreviation. You should define all your abbreviations. If you look at materials and methods, and if you don't cite those in your paper, but all you do is cite papers, which cite papers, which cite papers, which cite papers, it becomes very difficult to track those down. Whereas if you are required to declare those in your paper, you use whatever language you want.
Okay, so let's, I'll canvas on this point about structured digital abstracts, particularly. Larry?
All right, well, but I got called on. So I'm gonna take the opposite side, so to speak. So I don't think that structured digital abstracts and the Fed letters experiment worked. Okay, I think there are too many errors. I think it's too hard even to say which proteins interact how with which other protein. That's a sad comment. You'd think it would be that hard. But my favorite example is not even the errors that permeate the Fed's letters experiment, but a study that of the PDB did. So the PDB is protein structure database. They have many of the structures in the PDB are mutant structures, and there's a field in a form that the author who deposits the material into the PDB has to fill out, which is basically straightforward data deposition. They must fill it out in order to be able to get their data in, usually required for publication. The field says mutation. Okay, 40% of the fields say yes. They want to get it in. They're doing the minimum possible. Actually figuring out what to get in there and getting it right is not. They're not incented to do it. I don't object to the guidelines idea. I agree with Judy that authors should be forced to pick a database identifier for genes that are mentioned in their articles, and maybe a couple of other very basic kind of identifications. You might be able to pull it off with methods, but beyond the simplest possible things that could be enforced by anybody, okay, and checked by the reviewers, authors are not going to be able to do it, and I don't think it's a good idea to try and get them to.
Okay, so Peter,
You know, it's interesting because one of the most heavily annotated sets of documents that we have are actually the documents that we publish on Westlaw, which are the U.S. cases. And of course, you can't tell a judge how to write an opinion because the judge is God or his immediate superior, or at least he thinks he is. So it's just impossible to get even within a jurisdiction getting standardization between jurisdictions. You really have to forget about it. But it turns out that with the right kind of staff, I mean, I don't know how many editors Westlaw has, but we have like 700, 800 probably. It really is the kind of army that Larry was talking about before, of people who are domain experts for all JDs, and really all they do all day is annotate these documents. Now, they do have some programmatic help But at the same time, you really, there doesn't seem to be any substitute for that kind of high-touch way of doing things. And in those instances where we are using programs, I mean, the programs are proposing and suggesting, let's say, categorizations and extractions of entities from the cases, but they're not, the program is not the final word. But just that amount of mechanical assist has allowed us at least not to have to crazily expand the number of editors that we hire as the volume of litigation expands and as we take on more jurisdictions and hundreds. What I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't think that constraining the author is necessary. And to me, it's sort of ironic that actually our most groomed and most profitable document collections are actually the ones where we have absolutely no control of the input format at all.
Can I add a quick note to that? Not only do you have no control of the input format, it's public domain. Okay? Nobody's paying. Westlaw is the most profitable piece of your business, and nobody, the material, the written stuff is free. Anybody can have it. It's the markup that they pay for. I think scientific publishers should be paying attention to that.
I will just point out the PDP example of documentation is kind of interesting. It's one of the examples I use to show how bad the documentation for PDP is. Have you ever looked at what the documentation in that field is? There is none. It gives two examples of sample mutations. So what's the problem here? Even if the author wanted to do it, they have no instruction whatsoever. There's a lack of a vocabulary that PDP, now actually there is some decent vocabulary that they could use for instance, sequence ontology. But what's happened? They failed to step up and actually choose something and tell people how to do it. They haven't provided as a database provider, they haven't provided instructions on how to use it. And in the absence of using it, they haven't even made one of their own. So there's no surprise about why that's so crazy, right? And this is a lesson, I think, for publishers as well. If you think the publishers are going to be able to fill out a structured abstract and everything's ready to be filled out, the answer is no, that it isn't. The ontologies aren't built yet. You have to build them. You have to teach people how to use them. And I just want to say, David wanted response, right? The structured digital abstract, I think, serves one very small purpose, right? Which is to perhaps let an author read a paper more quickly, and perhaps retrieve some fraction of the paper more quickly than they would have. I don't think it gives the kind of leverage that we really can get out of papers, which is to have them coding. What's the statements of paper encoded in a way that the machine can use millions of them and 10 millions of them instead of being able to absorb maybe 50 instead of 25 at the same amount of time. And I think that's what structured digital abstracts really gets it. It doesn't get nearly enough.
So can I try and sum up some of the things we've talked about last minute? So there's a sense that we should and could get small amounts of